Today I wanted to talk to you for a minute about what I call the writing spiral. So as you're tuning in, let me give you a tour of my bookcase. Look at these amazing bricks. They were made for me by one of my good friends who knows what a huge Charlotte Mason fan I am. I am, I can, I ought, I will. And here's my little collection of her books. So as you're tuning in, let's talk a little bit. Ooh, my hair, I just got it done. It's got red in it. Okay. All right, I'm here. So I hope some of you are joining me. If you are, feel free to ask questions or punch your little hearts so I know I'm talking to real humans here. One of the things that I have been noticing in feedback for Brave Writer, I've read reviews, I've received emails and phone calls, is a misunderstanding fundamentally of how we approach writing in Brave Writer and what I believe is the appropriate approach for writing. So I want to talk about what I'm calling the writing spiral. Usually writing begins with speech, and that surprises some people, but the truth is our writing voice, the word that many professionals use to talk about the authentic nature of the version of self that shows up in writing, the writing voice is called a voice for a reason. It's not called written language, it's called voice. It sounds like the person. It starts with the articulated ideas, insights, and thoughts that a person can communicate. And that usually starts orally. And we see that development happen with our very young babies all the way up through toddlerhood till they're about 5 years old and perfectly fluent in their native language. Writing voice is all about the life that lives inside the person. It is uniquely theirs. It isn't something that can be duplicated by another person. Whereas transcription skills can be mastered by everyone, not everyone can think your thoughts. In fact, the truth is only you can think your thoughts. I like to say sometimes to parents who are a little freaked out, if we chopped off both of your hands and gouged out both of your eyes, you could still be a writer. The point is, the writing life lives inside. We can always hire someone to transcribe or handwrite our thoughts on our behalf. The reason that we teach how to transcribe your own thought life is to save time. If I can write my own thoughts down, there's no intermediary. I don't have to wait for someone to take my little dictaphone and turn it into typewritten copy. I can do it myself. So as we're teaching our children to write, I often suggest separating the mechanics from the original writing voice initially. That enables your kids to recognize that their writing life is independent of the mechanics. The mechanics are merely a support. So what happens then? What is this writing spiral I'm talking about? Well, the natural stages of development in writing, starting with speech and slowly building paired with mechanics, becomes fluent as a child gains facility using writing in a variety of formats. But each time your child goes up the writing rung one notch, they will need your support again. So a child who is only speaking and you're doing all the transcription, their thoughts are going to seem very cogent and complete because they are fluent in oral language. But at the point that they add their own transcription, they are going to find it more challenging to be able to express that same level of completeness in writing. And I just saw a question, but I don't have my glasses on, so I can't answer it. Let me grab my glasses, post it again. Okay, glasses on for any questions that come my way, and I will try to keep the glare out of the lenses. So, what that means is when your child moves up a notch, so they go from handwriting, oh, thank you. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate that. When they go from handwriting their own thoughts up a notch to the next level, so they're now going to embrace a format. Where you saw some fluency when they were partnering with you, they will suddenly regress and seem unable again to express themselves well. Each time you expect a higher performance level in writing, you can expect a corresponding regression in their confidence and competence. So what we do in Brave Writer is we try to support those transitions with maximum space and freedom in that developmental stage before we expect them to perform well. So what does that look like? Let's say you have a child who's about 10 years old and they're handwriting pretty well. They're able to read. They know how to articulate themselves in free writing. But now you're asking them to write a review of their favorite book, and they're going to put it on a little dust jacket. Suddenly they seem stifled again, and the writing seems wooden, and they are making spelling errors. Well, that's natural, because they are now performing at a level that feels dangerous and difficult. So what we do in Brave Writer is, instead of just moving directly into book review language, we do a lot of conversations. We do jotting down of some of the language related to book reviews. We read a lot of book reviews to make sure that they're getting comfortable with the sound, the tone, the intuitive piece that is a book review. And then we go to write it. Well, maybe the very first one, you're going to jot it down and your child will do no writing. Maybe the second one will be a partnership book review where the two of you are doing it together. And then finally, and more quickly than in the past, they will be able to attempt it on their own. What happens when they get to their freshman year of high school? Same idea. They've been writing and writing and writing, all these book reports, little poetry, little descriptive paragraphs. Now you want an essay? They need to read a lot of essays. You need to talk about essays. You need to examine the language of the essay and help them understand what an essay feels and sounds like. You want to give them ample opportunity to express opinions and to play with argument before they have to put it in an essay container. And then finally, they'll be prepared for that essay. So as you are working with writing, I want you to think about the spiral. Every time you go up a level in the writing experience, supply ample exposure to the materials, the models, the kinds of writing you expect from your child, have lots of conversation, offer maximum support, typing, transcription, handwriting, whatever it takes, and slowly work yourself out of a job. Give them freedom before form. Let them experience writing their ideas without having to get them right, without fitting the structure. And once you see this level of comfort evolve, they'll be ready for the structure. We use, for example, the Arrow Book Club and the Boomerang Book Club as explorations of literature, using literary language without any requirement that they spell correctly, punctuate well, or use the essay format. After kids have done that for months at a time, when we put them in the literary analysis classes, they have no trouble writing essays. So give your kids maximum freedom when they're learning a new thing at a new level and spiral your way to competence. I hope that helps. I hope it answers some of those questions out there. Sometimes the reviews we get about Brave Writer crack me up. I think it's just they haven't experienced this spiraling nature. So they're waiting for the hammer to fall, but there's never a hammer in Brave Writer. So thanks for listening. We'll do this again. I like it. Bye.